China's portrayed it as an act of goodwill, shipping Chinese-made vaccines to other countries, even before guaranteeing enough for its own citizens. State media reports 350 million doses have gone out to more than 80 countries. Among the nations on the receiving end, neighboring Mongolia, and in South America, Chile. Both countries mobilized quickly to put those vaccines to use. In Mongolia, more than 52% of the population has been fully vaccinated. Chile, just a bit less. They are among the highest vaccination rates in the world, alongside countries like the US and Israel. But why is it that as cases are dropping in those countries, Mongolia and Chile are seeing surges of new COVID-19 infections? Last week, Mongolia hit a record high in daily case counts, and authorities in Chile announced a blanket lockdown across its capital, Santiago, 2 weeks ago.
Some places where there's relatively high vaccine coverage and social distancing measures have been relaxed, it may be that those measures are relaxed a little bit too soon.
One of the most striking differences, the types of vaccines. While the US and Israel turn to Pfizer-BioNTech and Moderna, Mongolia and Chile are relying heavily on two from China, Sinovac and Sinopharm. My team and I, based here in China, received our 2 doses of Sinopharm in recent months. The efficacy rates of the Chinese-made vaccines containing inactivated virus range from about 50% to 79%, whereas US-backed Pfizer and Moderna, using mRNA science, are more than 90% efficacious. Though the environments in which they were all trialed varied, with different variants of the virus circulating, the American-backed ones appear to be much better at preventing transmission compared with China's vaccines.
Right now, what we can see very clearly is the antibody level in people who receive BioNTech is much higher, much higher than the antibody level in people who receive Sinovac.
The WHO authorized both Sinovac and Sinopharm for emergency use, despite the Chinese companies behind them providing limited clinical trial data. But medical experts warn, while less effective, this does not mean the Chinese vaccines are a failure.
Somewhere like Chile, somewhere like Mongolia, vaccines have saved a lot of lives, but maybe they haven't been able to stop the virus from spreading and causing mild infections in vaccinated people, and then of course the potential for more severe infections in people who haven't yet been vaccinated. And that's one of the limitations of less effective vaccines.
While overall cases in Mongolia and Chile are on the rise, the vaccines may be helping lower the severity of those cases.
If you look across the board, in countries that have higher vaccination rates, those hospitalization rates, those death rates, while they may move around a little bit, they are probably a lot better now than they would have been without the vaccines, because the vaccines, more than anything else, regardless of which one it is, help protect against severe illness and death.
To better stop the spread of the virus, countries like Bahrain and the UAE, which have also relied heavily on China's Sinopharm, are now offering their citizens a 3rd dose as a booster. The choices: a 3rd shot of Sinopharm, or they can use the Pfizer vaccine as their booster. The development and distribution of vaccines has become highly politicized, especially between the US and China. And if both countries refuse to recognize each other's vaccines, that could keep you limited to crossing borders based on the vaccine you've gotten, potentially preventing international travel from returning to near normal for years to come. Here in China, they've recently reported having given 1 billion doses to folks living here, and they've recently raised their vaccination target, hoping to vaccinate as many as 85% of the more than 1.4 billion people living here by later this year. But it remains unknown if they can reach herd immunity, especially given the efficacy of Chinese vaccines against the more easily transmissible Delta variant. That's not yet known. And so there are reports suggesting strict border measures will remain in place well into 2022. There have been discussions by Chinese health officials to add a 3rd dose here, along with a suggestion to mix Chinese and American vaccines with an eye toward making them more effective. David Cover, CNN, Shanghai.